Thank you, Wesley. Just very briefly, a couple of points on aspects of freedom of the press, perhaps from another perspective. There's always this tension between journalism and authority. Sometimes it's creative, and sometimes it's very damaging. But you know, some of the interventions that happened on the road to journalism always indicated that there was a threat to freedom of the press from authority. Authority, not only officialdom, but also in some cases influence, such as big business, or in situations where perhaps parts of civil society became very, very influential, such as trade unions. So if we look back at, let's say, the interventions of Burke and Milton some centuries ago, and then on the other side of the Atlantic, the case of Zenga, where we saw that this was a fight against authority to give greater expression to what we now know today to be journalism. The part of the problem is if we don't know what are the fundamental principles that guide us, we're always going to open ourselves to authority to make an intervention that quite often further limits our freedom to say what we have to say. So I think the first point I would be making is that we need ourselves to be more careful that we don't give authority an opportunity to limit our freedom. And it has to do with the quality of the work we do and the way we approach it and our knowledge of what it is that we have to do. Because our profession is very porous, because it's not guided by the very clear rules and regulations that would guide other professions such as medicine, law, architecture, and so on. The margins get very fuzzy. And quite often we are open to interventions and contamination from all and sundry, especially the latter. Also important that journalists understand the working conditions in which they are involved. The working environment is as important as the rewards that the journalists get. They have to know the conditions under which they're working. So if a particular media house has a particular editorial policy that guides what it does and it doesn't do, the journalist must know that. And by agreeing to work in that environment, the journalist has accepted that there were things that he or she can do, he or she can't do. And the last point I want to make is that sometimes we confuse ourselves by not being clear about what we are doing and who we are. So I'm quite amazed that in recent weeks I have heard from people who ought to know better reference to old journalism concepts, one of them being developmental journalism. I don't think we have to go back to thinking about doing things in a way that lead us to produce propaganda, whether this be political or commercial propaganda. The fact is that those to whom we report are not fools. Once we give them full, proper, contextual, explanatory information, we leave them to take the right decisions that affect their lives and livelihoods. So I guess what I'm saying is that yes, we have to be very careful about all the other elements, but it starts at home. We have to protect ourselves by making sure that we observe the standards and the principles and deliver quality journalism.